Peace, prosperity, and love, beautiful people. Welcome to Gracefully Imperfect, a podcast for the Black and African diaspora in material of socioeconomics, politics, religion, and so forth. The centrality of this podcast is immersive empathy, introspection, deep thought, soul-serving conversation and communication, all in the light of unlocking the keys to vulnerability and transformation. During our time together, we will engage in topics related to mental and spiritual health experiences, the intersectionality of mental health and creativity, identity and culture, and any and all things related to healing from trauma, gathering insights, cultivating a deep sense of knowing, and repairing soul wounds. In the essence of communal love and collective consciousness, let us open our minds, lighten our hearts, settle our spirit, access soul intelligence, and affirm the richness of our humanity.
Peace, blessings, and revolutionary love to all of you. This is Brother KD, and this is Gracefully Imperfect. And in this intimate, sacred space, we come together in unity, in the spirit of reciprocity and communalism, and we embrace the vulnerability and transformation one conversation at a time. So bring your imperfect selves, bring your full selves, your whole selves, and let's really engage in a very deep, intimate, reflective way. If you have been keeping posts of my LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, threads, you've noticed that I have launched a 2 programs. Well, 1 program and 1 service. And so the service that I just launched is called Liberatory Self-Knowledge. And I wanted to use this opportunity on this podcast, on this platform, to really speak to the context of what it is, what it's not, how it was formed, and what it is designed to help and support Black folks navigate through, and folks who are also non-Black. When I was developing liberation social work, it stemmed from Afrocentric scholarship, African history, African psychology, philosophy, wisdom traditions, the analysis of cultural deep thought within particular traditional societies, looking at cosmology, the ways in which our African ancestors viewed and understood the nature of being, the nature of reality. And I really started to pick up on some patterns, some themes per se. And even before the incursion and exploitation, manipulation, and domination of Europeans and Arabs, etc., on our ancient ancestors of the Nile Valley civilizations, we always had this thrust to be as free and as full and as rich as we possibly can. We have always had this proclivity to want to connect beyond ourselves to nature, to the universe, to the symbols of nature, to the essence of nature, and to each other. I find it very remarkable that even in this ancient time period, that yes, conflict was still there. There were still wars. There was still enslavement. There was still imperialism. But amongst the people, there was a very, very, very mutual understanding and a very intertwined collective consciousness that pervaded it through all institutions. And you'll see that if you ever begin to look at the Kemetic temples, the pyramids, the stone structures, you really start to see that not only did these people truly know themselves and knew each other, but they also were very much unaffected by any other external force or external people as they were making their marks through the principle of creativity and posterity. And so as I'm picking up all of this, I'm trying to make sense of it. I'm trying to synthesize it appropriately and respectfully. I decided to why not bring a liberatory relational s- system into the mix. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, maybe this sounds like therapy. This sounds like psychotherapy. This sounds like mental health counseling. And I want to make it very clear that psychotherapy, mental health counseling, all of those things, all those modalities were born out of healing practices, traditional healing practices. African people, before the professionalization of psychology, social work, professional counseling, etc., there was traditional healing traditions. And these healing traditions were multifaceted, meaning there were rituals, there was your herbs, your holistic medicine per se. There was counsel and advising from elders and leaders within your society, within your village, within your tribe, right? And so you had all these things already in place. And then as we move forward, and then the development of church and the institution of church organizations, then, Black people started to receive receive guidance, advisory, counsel through the church institution. And not forgetting that those who have been bestowed with elders within their life, within their lifetime, we've also know that our elders have always played an important role in storytelling and keeping of tradition, keeping of stories, keeping of culture, and also providing moral instruction, either through, very clever sayings, through proverbs or or whatnot. So if you're looking at this and you're saying, oh, this sounds like therapy, I don't want to do therapy, or Brother KD, are you a therapist? Um, I want to let you know that this stems from our tradition of healers or facilitator of healers, who was not seeking approval from any type of European, Euro-American institutions. I'm not seeking approval. Now, mind you, I am clinically trained. I have a master of social work. I have an undergrad in psychology, if that matters to you. Um, and I hope it does matter. I also too I'm also rooted in culture. I'm rooted in history. I'm rooted in morals and ethics. And I'm rooted in a perspective that centers our life, our experiences, our circumstances, and the ways in which that we have evolved from our ancient beginnings along the Nile Valley to today. So libertary self-knowledge is a non-clinical, relational-centric, dignity-affirming, context-defining, and human-centered counseling service. And I'm using the word counseling because I want this service to be understood. I want this to be understood from the perspective of providing help, providing a listening ear, providing the spirit of inculcating empowerment, courage, helping one realize their self-healing power and capacities, and see the type of counseling that I'm referring to is beyond the traditional sense, beyond the mainstream conceptions of counseling, where you come in with a problem and that problem must be dealt with and rectified. I'm looking at it, how do we help you realize your personal power, and how do we help connect your personal power to collective and group cohesion? Because the worldview of the Black person, the ethos of the Black person, is communal and it's spiritual. And so with libertary self-knowledge, we will center your worldview, the way in which that you view nature, God, people, relationships, the values that you hold, the principles that you carry, the perspectives that you use as your compass, as your guide, and also as your filter. We will touch on what it is that makes your personhood expand and or constrict. We will touch on your consciousness, your culture, your history, and how these three dimensions are fundamentally interconnected. And everything in between, we will constantly affirm the dignity, the worth of your beingness. And so in this process, this enduring process, it is more than therapy. It is more than mental health counseling. It is a sacred reawakening, a spiritual reckoning. It is cultural reconnection. I open this up to individuals, for people who want to do things outside the gaze of other people, who want a bit more privacy, who want a bit more space and opportunity to sit in all the things that create distress and shame and anxiety, etc. Eventually, though, that individual-led effort must tie into a community collective effort in order for the liberation to continue to manifest itself and perpetuate itself. And so I open this to individuals because I respect your autonomy. I respect the privacy that you want. And eventually, it is my hope and my optimism that the individuals will tie back in to the group process of liberatory self-knowledge. So if you, your kin, any one of your family members, your peers, your coworkers are interested in going through a sacred, intimate, thought-provoking, deep, relational process of reawakening, of reckoning, and reclaiming the power of self-knowledge and self-knowing, this is for you. I have done liberatory self-knowledge for so long before I even labeled it as such. In the military, when we're supposed to just do developmental counseling, I was always trying to learn I was trying to uncover the dimensions of my soldiers' character and identity and culture in order to help them realize the resources, strengths, and power that they possess. I did it in settings that where systemic harm continues to pervade and prevail. Hospital, emergency room, helping people realize that they possess power, that they possess the ability to define their own reality and have others respond to their definition as if it's their own. Dr. Wade Nobles, that's the essence of power. That is the thrust for power. It is not a dominating power over type mechanism. It is, how do I become more self-determined, more courageous, more self-assured, more vocal and expressive, and more embodied in the way in which that I exercise my humanity and I connect my humanity to others and to the world over. Liberatory self-knowledge is a resource. It's a socio-cultural, emotional, and mental resource. It is therapeutic in nature. It's not therapy. It is contextual. We're not going to provide any type of general, universalism type themes. We're speaking directly to your position, to your perspective, and from your point of view. Liberatory self-knowledge is something that is essential not only to individual liberation and individual exploration of who they are, where they've been, and where they're going, but is also inextricably linked to community belonging, community empowering. Because eventually, once the individual comes into knowing their history, their ancestors, their connection to it, their values, their principles, priorities, etc., then they too will be able to then tie in to other people. And then the chain of unity of action continues to grow and manifest itself and perpetuate itself. I will ask you, do you want to experience mental liberation? Do you want to experience a reconnection to the source of knowing, the source of being, belonging, and becoming? Do you want to experience a reawakening and a reckoning with a person who will not judge you, who will not criticize you, who will not impose on your consciousness, on your thoughts, on your ideas? Do you want to be in community with someone who values your story, who values it as sacred, and it values your beingness as special? Let us work towards collective liberation through the individual process. Let us prioritize mental liberation, realizing our power, reconnecting to our roots, and dismantling anything, any force that is creating miseducation. In this beautiful book, Know Thyself, Naeem Akbar, he writes about miseducation and education. And I look at liberatory self-knowledge as a co-creative, social, cultural, and educational process. And in here, he says that power is the ability to influence the environment consistent with one's self-interest. It is true that power in this respect carries the implication of domination, but definitely not the domination of other people. This definition of power has implications for the domination or mastery of our needs. Power is intended to put people into the unique position that they can obtain and achieve within the context of their environment, those things that maximize their survival and the continuation of themselves to the best of their ability. Wow. So let's develop and cultivate, channel, harness, and explore power together through liberatory self-knowledge. In the show notes, I will put the information for you to register, for you to book a spot with me, and for us to work towards mental liberation, achieving power, and becoming more and more aware of who we are, where we've been, and where we're going. Peace and love. Be well, be safe, and I'll talk to you soon.